Hello, my friends, and happy Friday. Happy Summer Friday to you. Thank you very much for joining me. Because it's a Summer Friday, I've just got a guest today and no clip show. I do have some headlines for you, and I want to give you a heads up that I'll be going live on YouTube at 1 p.m. talking about the state of education with the president of the Florida Education Association. Our friend Andrew Spar will join me live at 1 p.m. And then I'll talk about the state of healthcare in America with Dr. Rob Davidson from Michigan, who is an ER physician and a health policy advocate. Talked to him not too long ago. Looking forward to talking to both those guys, but look for me live at 1 and 2 p.m. today. And then, guess what? I've been invited back on CNN. Someone must have canceled. No, I'm on Abby Phillips' show Friday night at 8 p.m. or 10 p.m. I think it airs. But I'll be there with S.E. Cupp, who I'm supposed to be hanging out with after. Looking forward to seeing my old friend S.E. and hopefully you'll see us both tonight on CNN. Unless, of course, we get bumped, which is always a possibility. But that's scheduled for tonight, and that's what's coming up. And now I've got your headlines. Let's get to it. Here's what's going on this Summer Friday. Our fat old president has been diagnosed with chronic venous insufficiency after he was checked out for mild swelling in his lower legs. So I regret attacking Jeff Jarvis in our conversation coming up because that news came out after we got done talking yesterday. According to a recent U.S. assessment of destruction caused by the military operation against Iran, the bombing of Iran, well, maybe not so much obliterated. This is a report from the United States reported by NBC News with many sources. Quote, one of the 3 nuclear enrichment sites in Iran struck by the United States last month was mostly destroyed, setting work back there significantly. But the 2 others were not as badly damaged and may have been degraded only to a point where nuclear enrichment could resume in the next several months if Iran wants it to. So a little bit of a correction or a huge correction from obliterated to could reconstitute in just a couple of months. So maybe slow down on the victory lap. Not that anybody cares. Yesterday, the anti-gay Trump Republican regime officially terminated the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline LGBTQ Youth Specialized Services Program, which gave callers under the age of 25 the option to speak with an LGBTQ trained counselors. Pretty horrible, real horrible. And I'm sure that the public is going to pick that up. I'm sure activists and advocates are going to somehow try to fill the gap, but it should be funded by the government and operated by the government. Speaking of health care, Health Secretary and conspiracy theorist crank, as well as really creepy guy all the way around, RFK Jr., fired 2 of his top aides this week, shaking up his leadership team at the Department of Health and Human Service amid an aggressive effort to reshape our public health policy to a conspiracy theory where the moon is made of cheese. I'll talk with Dr. Rob Davidson later on live on YouTube about that. Wednesday, our very dishonest, weak, feeble-minded leader said that Coca-Cola in the United States will begin to be made with cane sugar. But the Coca-Cola company did not explicitly say that was the case when it was asked later about Trump's claim. So he just makes shit up. He just makes it up and then hopes that – doesn't hope anything, actually, I should say. He assumes that he'll be backed up by whoever he's talking about. Yesterday, the United States House of Representatives, led by Republicans, passed a bill to regulate digital currency known as stable coins. Our weak-minded leader, Schittler, said it would be the first major piece of crypto legislation. I don't know much about it, but I did want to mention it here so we can all look into it. Yesterday, the White House and Columbia University, it's reported, are nearing a deal to end their months-long legal dispute. It's expected to include a fine of about $200 million for the university. And for what? And why are they paying it? Federal judge yesterday ruled that Trump's firing of a Democratic commissioner at the FTC, that's the Federal Trade Commission, was illegal. So he illegally fired this Democratic commissioner at the FTC. I'm sure that'll matter. And a huge story last night that broke the hearts of lots of fans of comedy and of Stephen Colbert. Colbert announced that CBS is canceling his late night talk show effective as of May. That's the bad news from my old boss. The good news is for the rest of us, he's going to shit on CBS between now and May on a regular basis in a thoughtful and clever way is my guess, unless they're preventing him of doing that somehow. And he will do whatever he does next will be even better because The Late Show was something he inherited and did a great job at. But I'm not too broken up for Stephen and his fans. I mean, there's plenty of comedy out there, and we love Colbert and The Late Show, and it will be missed. But That was a huge story last night, and he put a statement out, or you can watch it on social media or anywhere. And the big story, of course, the biggest story yesterday was the Wall Street Journal. They reported that our fearless leader, Donald Trump, once contributed a really scandalous bawdy note as part of a birthday gift for Jeffrey Epstein. His friends were asked to write notes. And so Trump sent a note in, and now he has said it's fake. And he's vowing to sue the Wall Street Journal. He insisted that he never drew pictures, but of course, like everything else, immediately several pictures that he drew appeared online. Several doodles and artworks created by Trump surfaced Thursday, directly contradicting his claims. They suggest not only did he he regularly produced sketches adorned with his stupid trademark signature. And by the way, in his 2008 book, Trump Never Give Up, How I Turned My Biggest Challenges into Success, he wrote, or someone did for him, about his, quote, new talent. Adding, he usually draws for charity in that it takes me a few minutes to draw something. In my case, it's usually a building or a cityscape of skyscrapers, And he continued, art may not be my strong point, but in the end is help for people who need it. So he would do these drawings for charity, and he wrote about it. He drew a lot, and he would put his signature in as part of the drawing. That was his clever little creative idea. And in this case, he is accused, we haven't seen, I don't think, the drawing yet. He's accused of putting his signature in for her pubic hair, like he drew a naked woman and his signature. It's just so, it makes vomit come up in your throat. Obviously, it's horrible. And of course, he is now going to try to sue the Wall Street Journal, owned by Rupert Murdoch. A lot of people are interpreting this as they're trying to get rid of him. That Rupert Murdoch and News Corp are trying to get rid of him, and others want to get rid of him. They want to disgrace him to the point where he loses support, and they can't control that as much as they want to. So I don't see that happening. All right, those are the headlines that I've got for you from yesterday going into a weekend. No, I can't do these interviews and these shows without your support. Patreon.com/Pete Dominick right now. Okay. Let's get to my guest today. It's Jeff Jarvis, everybody. We love Jarvis. I heard him first on the Howard Stern Show, where he would call in, and he was a media critic then and now. He's also a professor of journalism now at Stony Brook, and he is become a real good friend of mine. You should get all of his books. You should read him at Medium. You should follow him on social media. All of that is linked and more in the show notes, but definitely check out all of the brilliant Jeff Jarvis's work. He's always good and kind to join me. You can watch this interview on YouTube, where it lives forever. Let's do it right now with the legend, Professor Jeff Jarvis. There he is, the people, they clamor for Jarvis, and I've got him now. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Jarvis joins me. Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
Great to see you.
Good to see you.
All right. Pretty good.
From a new location, from an undisclosed location.
Yeah. I'm at my house that I co-own. I'm here.
Do you still mow the yard?
Oh, yeah. I take care of the place.
Oh,
this
nice.
morning, I almost fixed a washing machine.
Whoa.
I thought I was so close. I was about to celebrate and just virtue signal.
Maytag repairman, new career here.
Yeah, but I failed. It's still broken. I like the way it feels when I get to fix something myself, but I think this one I might have to call in a real man.
Yeah, I don't even try.
Nothing. What's the most complex thing? What about a garbage disposal, a sink, a faucet? None of that. A hose? Can you put a hose on a faucet?
Well, I had to go buy some washer. What do you call them for that recently? And for maybe a week, I can put together an IKEA cabinet and think that I'm doing something.
Okay. All right. That's pretty impressive. You're around an Allen wrench.
Yeah, that's. Who is Allen? I've always wondered.
I don't know, but I hope he gets royalties every time we use one of those babies. And I hope he feels our anger at having to use one of those babies. All right, Jarvis, great to have you here. A lot of things I want to discuss with you. As always, there's a myriad subjects to speak with you about. We got to probably talk a lot about the Epstein, the latest. Best thing I saw, or hottest take I saw, was when Alex Jones went on a rant yesterday, or just he's posting. He was like, why is Trump ripping apart MAGA? He's ripping apart MAGA. And Ron Filipkowski quoted, he's like, because he's already won. He's got everything he wants. He doesn't care about these people. And I thought, that's a pretty good take.
That's a good take.
You like it?
Yeah, and I also liked that Jones was I don't like to use I can't do it as well as you do. I don't like to use the word cult, but So here he is, the cult leader, admitting they're a cult under Trump, and it's just delightful to watch. And the Democrats finally doing something right by keeping it constantly in the flow. Now, if you watch Fox News with our friend Julia Jeske, you'll see that they aren't talking Epstein. They're trying to hide it, but Trump himself is bringing it up regularly, which is wonderful. And the Democrats are just hounding it, keeping on it. And so is MSNBC, which is good to see. So I guess there's a chance that documents actually come out, and there could be some Democrats in there. It could backfire to that extent, but I think Democrats, look what we did to Al Franken, who did nothing much of anything wrong. So Democrats have thrown their male wolves over the cliff before.
One of the most irritating, offensive ideas that you hear from the right and others are conspiracy theorists, are that somehow Democrats and Hollywood liberals are more likely to be sexual deviants, predators, rapists, and it's men. It's just a men thing. Like, yeah. I don't care if the guy's liberal Democrat. I don't care if it's Bill Clinton. I don't care if it's somebody that I really like and respect. If you've done these things, then you should have to face the consequences for whatever you've done.
Yeah, whoever you are. Exactly.
A woman, especially if it's like a minor or something. You know?
Yes.
So I just don't like when they're somehow acting like sexual assault has a political ideology.
No.
If anything, you're more likely to be religious, I would argue. If anything.
So this was also a huge QAnon thing, starting with right. Hillary Clinton and the pizza parlor.
Right.
And the deep state is filled with child predators, right? So
harvesting the blood of panicked children so that then Tom Hanks adrenochrome, then inject it into yourself so you can live forever. I mean, I've done that. Right.
I can see it's not working very well, but
I'm not a big enough celebrity. It doesn't make it.
So two things about that. One, it's amazing that child predation became the glue that held this cult together. That's a really weird thing. But the second part is, I don't think we've heard anything of Q and QAnon of late. Once they took over, it kind of disappeared.
That's a really good point. I haven't heard anybody mention
nothing, right?
Where'd Q go?
Gone.
Q got what he wanted.
Yeah.
I don't know what Q's pronouns are, and now Q's gone.
Yeah. And so what we're seeing is the residual conspiracy theory from Q of child predation and the deep state, and so it's bringing back its vestiges.
And there are a lot of vestiges, and there are a lot of people invested in said vestiges, and it would seem they're not giving up. Give me your take on the right-wing influencers, the MAGA influencers, and there's a lot of them, and I'm not sure who's the most influential, or just because you have the biggest audience doesn't mean you're necessarily the most influential. So you add them all together and, you keep track of these things. Does somebody have a spreadsheet of who they are and what they're saying? Because they stopped talking about Epstein when Trump called a few of them, and I think their audiences went nuts. And then the next day they went right back to it, as far as I can tell, with Charlie Kirk and many of the others. And so what do you make of their reactions? Because they don't, Megyn Kelly and others, they're using all kinds of language. Benny Johnson is a huge, these are people that never question Trump. They're questioning Trump.
So two things. It's a test of who's more powerful, Trump or Trump's people. And the answer right now is Trump's people, not Trump.
But does he need them? Back to the earlier point.
That's the other question. So he's rejecting them, and they're rejecting him. But the podcasters who are making a fortune, you're not making in podcasting. If only you turn into a complete and utter asshole, you could make a fortune, Pete. I've been telling you.
If only I could just get like a half a bill from a foreign country.
That too.
A bunch of these guys got like $500,000 from Russia. How come I didn't get any of that
Russian? To Moscow would be fine, yeah.
Sweet Russian cash.
So they all saw their money going out the window.
Right.
So they realized that their audience was more important.
Yeah. But if Trump's got the courts, if he's got the Congress, and he's not letting go of it in the midterms, if he's got all his appointees in, if he's got his Doge, if he's got his Project 2025, the cuts to State Department, the cuts to Education, Department of Education, the cuts everywhere are now showing up. The cuts yesterday, the Republicans voted for cuts to public radio, public television, all that. Who knows what the consequences are going to be of that? I was going to ask you about that. But the point I'm making is he's got the courts, He's got the legislative branch, and he just is so confident that his MAGA people will eventually come back around. But the bottom line is he's doing anything he wants, and he's making billions of dollars with all these grifts too.
That's your key. He doesn't care. He's never cared about any of that policy crap. Right. Never. Right? He said what they wanted him to say to put him in this position to build up MAGA. But you're right. He's already in. No matter what we hear, he ain't running again. So
why do you say that? He ain't running.
He can't.
Why are you saying that? Why are you so dismissive?
I should be knocking wood here. Let's just assume
he's not leaving.
But all he wants now is money. He doesn't need to play the political game anymore. It was all just a game to him. He never believed anything. He never knew anything. Right. Well, so it's all over. So all he wants is the money. And so as long as he can convince crypto, the danger to him is if suddenly the crypto bros start saying we want Epstein, or else you're going to lose money in all your crypto crap. That might motivate him, but I can't think of anything else because all that motivates him is money.
Right. And what do you think in terms of the Epstein files, why he does not release them? There's so many obvious responses that he's in them somehow. Obviously, his name comes up or his friend's name comes up. He doesn't care about his friends or some other country, Israel or some other, countries, intel agents. He doesn't care about them either. What he cares about is getting more for himself. So he doesn't want a problem when one of these people's names come up or his name comes up or a foreign intel agency comes up and now he can't make a deal with them or that. Like, I just feel like whatever it is, it's in his interest to make sure they don't get out. So it's got to be something about him or something he wants, needs, desires.
Or who else could be pressuring him? Who holds something over him? Even financially or politically. Who else is saying, no, you got to stop this?
Rosie.
Listens to them.
It's Rosie. Rosie O'Donnell. She's the key to everything. Love Jeff's office. I'm getting a rich mahogany and leather bounds book vibe. Yeah, it really is nice, Matt. I'm looking at the live chat. I love the live chat.
All credit to my wife.
He doesn't have friends, Kim says, in terms of Trump. Or Jarvis or Trump, Kim? No, we're talking about Trump. Yeah, he doesn't have any friends. He doesn't. I
don't either. I'm Pete. He's the closest I got.
Stop that. According to my eyeballs, nobody likes the man in real life. So I mean, he doesn't actually have any friends, but he has business interests and business partners, including his own kids, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's the frightening thing of the kids doing trial balloons of continuing the family in control. That's really frightening to me. The presumption is that MAGA without Trump starts to dissipate.
Right. It does. These two knuckleheads can't carry it on. They're just they're the least charismatic too. Man, yeah. I mean, they're both unlikable. Not that Trump is
frightening.
Yeah. Okay. So this goes nowhere, right? Epstein. I mean, this is not as long as, I mean, every day he seems to accidentally or purposely feed the conspiracy even more. Yesterday, Pam Bondi fired the prosecutor who prosecuted Epstein. Now, the reason may be because her last name is Comey, and I don't like that Jim Comey. Don't like Comey. But still, it doesn't help her or the Trump regime's narrative that they're not hiding something when they fired the prosecutor, right? Like that didn't do.
So I think what they're going to do is try to the cloak they're going to put over this is a special prosecutor. If the prosecute who, right? You haven't listed any names. Who are they going after? They'll do something like that and then just try to drag it out and hope it gets forgotten. But I don't think the MAGA folks are going to forget this. I think they're going to stay on it and say, no, not good enough. Give us a list now. Give us the docs now.
Yeah. I can't imagine that's not the case. Elon Musk is back out there. He's not leaving alone. I mean, like, nobody's leaving this alone.
I mean, there is a legal conundrum here because if at some point somebody decided they're going to be mean to Pete Dominick and say, well, yeah, Pete was on the island and Pete was never on the island, you're besmirched in public with no due process. That's a head scratching, difficult moment in terms of releasing all this stuff. If you're prosecutors, you don't put all the material out there because people deserve due process.
Right.
But the prosecutor who believed in due process is gone. Maybe she was resisting putting it out. I don't know.
Alex Jones warns Trump is destroying MAGA in real time. Ex-casino president went on CNN last night and said, I scolded Trump for coming into the casino with Jeffrey Epstein and a 19-year-old. So like this is like that was on CNN last night. If that casino president ever said that anywhere else, I never heard about it. And now the big talking point apparently, and then we can, I guess, dispense with it, is if Trump was in there, why didn't Biden release it when he was president?
I think that's the discussion about prosecutors and what's the right thing to do.
Right.
Because if you're going after, if Epstein had survived and gone on trial again, shit would have come out. The other question is Ghislaine.
Is that how it's pronounced? Ghislaine, Ghislaine.
So I've known her. I worked for her father. Yeah, I worked for her father at the Daily News when Robert Maxwell, robber baron, bought the Daily News, and then went overboard in more ways than one. I was the Sunday editor and associate publisher of the paper when it all went belly up. And she came through town a few times. And of course, remember, his boat was the boat that he died off of was called the Lady Ghislaine. And then the boys tried to act like they were still in charge when clearly they were not, because it was all bankrupt. And that was quite a saga.
What was your relationship? How did you have interactions with her?
Not much. No. I mean, with the father, I did. The father is, I got stories with the father. So Robert Maxwell, if you know, was this gigantic man. He was from the shtetl, but he managed to develop this bulletproof British accent. And I'll give you one little Maxwell story. So one day I was summoned into his suite.
This is Ghislaine's father.
Robert Maxwell. He bought the Daily News. He owned the Daily Mail. He owned all kinds of other stuff. I was summoned into his suite in the Waldorf. And he said, Jarvis, we must own the color green. Green is taking over Europe. We must own the color green. What the fuck does that mean?
Huh.
And so he said, I want you to have all of the, mind you, I was just an editor. I want you to have all of our trucks and our news boxes painted green. Go to it. So I called the circulation director, who, like all circulation directors, was probably near a RICO indictment, because that's how that business operates. And he said, I said, the guy wants you to paint all the trucks green. And he said, are you knucking futz? The trucks aren't worth the paint. This place is falling apart. Why? No. I said, it's your problem now. You figure it out. And he did. So he had the trucks and the news boxes painted green that were between the Daily News and the Waldorf Astoria.
Just so Robert
he
Maxwell
would see it.
That is hilarious and brilliant and very manipulative.
It's
and
beautiful.
Unbelievably fascinating story. And another reason of many that Jarvis is such a great guest, because you can always tell a yarn from your career. You've done it all. You've seen it all. You really have. You should write a memoir. You've written all these books. Where's your memoir?
There's a little bit of it in this now, an audiobook. It's a new release magazine in which I tell the story of the launch of Entertainment Weekly and my career in magazines, at least. And it's just out in audiobook. It's a little
Love that.
book. It's a little
well,
3-hour
I want to
audiobook.
get my hands on that. I didn't know I didn't have
I'll
that.
send you one. Yeah.
All right. I got to ask you, you wrote a piece over at Medium about what's going on with Zohran Mamdani, specifically in terms of the media's handling it, more specifically. The New York Times, what is the New York? I've heard about this. I haven't read any of the articles. I've just seen like tweets and stuff. So I figured I'll ask you about it because you wrote this piece about it. The New York Times is out for Zohran Mamdani. You wrote this back on the 4th of July because apparently you were doing nothing else.
I have no life.
And it's still relevant? Are they still going after him?
Yeah, they are. I think the receipts keep piling up. Of course, when it came time for endorsements, the New York Times stopped endorsing in local elections. So they couldn't endorse Cuomo, but they came close to it. They threw caveats in, yeah, he's this scum, he's this and that. But then they explicitly said that Mamdani was not worth your ranking at all. So if they're not endorsing, how do they justify doing non-endorsements, unendorsements? But it's clearly they have a Jones here for Mamdani. And then after the election, I think the coverage has been bad, trying to find worst parts of it. And when there's good, important stuff, it doesn't last on the homepage long. And then they just did a feature the other day on Cuomo and how he's trying out a new personality and doing this and that. And I complained about it because it gave Cuomo the opportunity more than once to say he's a socialist and he's against Israel, and Mandami was really clever. The campaign manager said, "Well, I want to congratulate Cuomo on his endorsement from Donald Trump, because Donald Trump said nice things about Cuomo." And the Times is just being awful on editorial page and in the news columns. And there's a former Times editor who's the only person who comes after me when I do this stuff. And he complained. And he said, well, the Cuomo story is filled with barbs. And they think if they throw in some subtle little savvy barb, it shows that, well, we know Cuomo's bad, but we're not going to mention the fact that he's a sexual predator. We're not going to mention everything else that he did wrong. And so the Times is just awful on this topic. And it's all the more reason to give money to and go out and vote for Mandami if you're in New York. And it's just I'm now in constant complaint about the Times, and they still do good work. They did reporting on Netanyahu keeping the wars going and how that's happened. They did really good reporting on the Texas floods. There's still good journalism there, but their political coverage, local and national, is killing them and their reputation.
I read an op-ed the other day that really impacted me. Shared it as well by Israeli-American historian from Brown University, Omer Bartov, who is an expert on genocide. And the piece the Times printed was titled, "I'm a genocide scholar. I know it when I see it." And man, it really affected me. And it, more importantly, it made the case to use the G word coming from an expert on genocide who is also a former IDF officer who fought in which war? I don't know, one of those wars in the 70s. And I just thought, wow, that's pretty good that the New York Times is listing that.
They have at least allowed that voice in.
Yeah.
They allowed it there. And also Peter Beinart, my former colleague from CUNY, has been doing very good work. And his book, Being Jewish After the Destruction of Gaza, I think is excellent on the topic.
You wanted to mention this story from a Hungarian politician, a Hungarian opposition figure named Caitlin Say, C-S-E-H.
Caitlin doesn't strike me as Catalin.
Catalin. So she's got advice for American Democrats, members of the Democratic Party, and she has credibility because she's there in Hungary and a critic of their strongman, quote strongman. I hate that, but still, Viktor Orban. What is this story about? Why is it important? Why did you want to mention?
She's just warning the Democrats and saying, get your damned act together before the midterms, or else Donald Trump's going to be in full stage autocratic takeover.
Right.
Like they've seen there. And some people came in when I shared this, and they said, well, we're already there. Yes, we are there. Nonetheless, the last hope we have to save ourselves at all is the midterms. And though I complimented the Democrats a few minutes ago on how they're dealing with the gift from Epstein, in this case, we talked about this a few shows ago, you and I. The Democrats, I still don't think they have their act together at all. I don't see any drive. Where I thought we were going to have a big, wasn't it today? It's tomorrow. Yeah, it was today. We were supposed to have a whole bunch of big demonstrations. Didn't come off.
I didn't even know about that. I don't think.
I did. Well, it was a while ago. It was said again, and then I heard nothing of it.
Is that grassroots, or was it Democrats organizing that?
It was grassroots, but there's nothing going on in the streets. There's nothing going on from the Democrats. We're not seeing them dealing with media well. So it's a warning to us that we're ready for the full Orbanization. And we know that Trump admires Orban and sees him as a model. And Orban took over media. As you said earlier, NPR and PBS are now pretty much defunded. Anything that could be opposition, VOA is defunded.
About that? Do you know about that story? Like, when you say pretty much defunded, like, what are you talking about? Like, what this vote last night the Senate took, the House passed it, the Senate then took a look, amended it, and they sent it back to the House, and Trump's going to sign it. And it's like, I don't know how much money they're clawing back, which is a new phrase, clawing back, only used apparently when you're taking money that's already been allocated, clawing back. Anyway, like, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. I don't understand how the money is distributed to public radio and media outlets, television outlets around the country, but what does this mean?
I've been arguing for some years, and it's not a popular opinion, I have many of those, that NPR and PBS should have weaned themselves off federal money because exactly for this reason. It would be taken away, that they're vulnerable. And my friends from the UK say, but look, we have the BBC. You should have that too. And I was, well, we're not Britain. And PBS isn't the BBC. And it's always been a political football. And the money isn't that much, actually. A place like WNYC in New York gets next to nothing from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. But who's going to be hurt terribly is small town stations.
Yeah.
That don't have the income and don't have the and poor populations, and they're not getting the memberships, and they don't have the sponsors. And so that's who depended upon this. And what NPR, in my mind, should have been was rob one to pay the other. They should have had the money going in so that it's a cooperative network. But NPR has never been that good at that, neither PBS. They're all too independent-minded, and they don't stand up for each other sufficiently, I don't think. And so it's going to be damaging, especially in places where the best example is Alaska, where public media is one of the important outlets for disaster weather coverage. And meanwhile, they're killing weather coverage. So this is not good. It's not, we're not Britain. The BBC isn't a huge part of our media ecosystem. Public media is not. So it's not as if they died tomorrow, it would be harmful as hell. But we have commercial media galore. Not that they're doing a great job, but we've got them as well.
But they don't do the kind of on the ground shoe leather reporting. Is it shoe leather?
Shoe leather. That's our myth. Yes.
Making calls and following up and talking to experts and victims and people to, put together a traditional story the way that they do. I mean, there's not many people doing that reporting in independent media, really not much at all, I feel like. Like, who's the biggest independent media outlet out there now? Like the Midas Touch and the Bulwark and the Pod Saves America guys. Like, none of them are doing original reporting. They're all relying on the Times, the Post, CNN, NPR, Reuters, and all the rest, right?
You have a lot of independent, not-for-profit. The INN is the Institute for Non-Profit News or Investigative News, or I forget what they changed what it stands for. Places like Cal Matters, the City in New York, Texas Tribune, those are the places that are doing a good job locally. All of the hedge fund-owned newspaper chains are a disaster. They're ripped to the marrow. Right. There's nothing there.
Which is most of them. There's only a few. Can you name those that are popular that are not? Like, is the Texas Tribune one of them?
Texas Tribune was not a newspaper. In terms of the old newspaper companies, my old employer, Advance, the Newhouses who own Condé Nast, and the Hearsts are the last two kind of decent newspaper companies that are family owned. And, they've cut back, but they're not like that. But Alden Global owns a lot of papers. Gannett is owned by hedge funds. McClatchy is owned by hedge funds. Knight Ridder, rather, is owned by hedge funds. McClatchy. Sorry, they merged all those into one. And one more I'm forgetting. So those control the vast majority of newspapers in the country.
My friend Celeste Headley is on NPR forever. You know Celeste?
Mm-hmm.
She writes about the defunding. In a land where internet is spotty and cell service is a luxury, radio remains a vital lifeline. The cornerstone of KSKO's local programming is weather forecasting and what we call messages, sharing everything from emergency alerts to mother moose sightings in town. She then says, this isn't a blow to PBS and NPR. It's a blow to the American public who may not realize how much rural areas rely on public broadcasting for weather, local news, music, educational program. Musicians will lose a vital tool for reaching audiences without record company contracts. Just a couple of her posts.
I mean, I think one can complain about it's a complicated ecosystem because everybody thinks that every public radio station is NPR, and it's not. NPR is a network, and public radio stations buy some from this network and that network and that network. I don't think NPR is not as bad as the New York Times by a long shot, but it hasn't necessarily bathed itself in glory in how it has dealt with the Trump years either. So it has the same problem as the Times, is the right has always hated them and the left is disappointed in them in terms of their political coverage. She's right in terms of local coverage. I mean, look at what happened in the tragedy in Texas. They should have listened to radio. They should have had weather radios that woke them up and got people out of there.
Wanted to ask you also, of course, about No, I forgot what it was.
Age. It's a terrible thing to have.
No, I just had the notes and I lost my computer. I can't swipe. It's not swiping for me right now. And it was one of the things that you were talking about.
Well, we can talk about right-wing fashion.
On Blue Sky. Oh, I did want to get to that. What is this all about? Why are you tweeting? Why are you posting about women's clothing?
So the Washington Post had a story today. Is a floral dress a political statement? Why young conservative women are turning toward milk-made dresses, florals, and feminine flourishes. Here's what the fashionable fascist is wearing today. They didn't say that, I did. So I posted this. I found it pretty obnoxious. And a lot of response in the socials of women saying, God damn it, they took away our flag. They're not taking away my floral dress in the summer. No, it's wrong to say that that's now a marker of fascism. The fact that they're doing it doesn't mean that I can't.
Right.
So I found that interesting. And then someone posted to me, Kevin Shea, a story from Ms. Magazine. Why do MAGA women dress like that? By Leora Tannenbaum in May. My research on young women's clothing choices show that the political right and left are aligned on wearing sexy outfit, but not on what sexy means. And so this is a story from about the conservative Cosmo, I've never heard of it, Evie magazine, where the right-wing women are always showing off their cleavage. And I think one could argue the right-wing women are having more facelifts than left-wing women.
I don't know about that. I think it's probably true. I don't know what your political ideology has to do with your body image or the ability to afford plastic surgery. Although it seems like a pretty white thing.
Oh, yeah.
But more than that, how many people that are in the public eye that are high-ranking Republicans? One thinks of Kristi Noem, who recently she denies having plastic surgery. There is that whole trend, like to get into Mar-a-Lago and to fit in the MAGA movement. If you can afford it, get a new face. Yeah.
I mean, it isn't just that. I went to the Aspen Ideas Festival once or twice, and it's all old people, rich old people.
Yeah.
And my joke was that in Aspen, even the dogs get facelifts.
That's true. I went to Aspen, I think 7 years in a row I was out there. And you're right. A lot of those women had their face yanked back. Some of the men too. Yeah. I was walking through Aspen on the way back from our radio broadcast with my old producer, Alfred, and a woman in her driveway in her beautiful home. And I yelled to her, I was like, will you marry me? And she, without missing a beat, yells right back. She goes, show me your tax returns. And I was like, that's hilarious. That's awesome. Well done, lady. I was like, I don't think I will. I'll keep on moving. I was going to ask you, I found it. A lot of people are talking about this. I don't know how I feel. I don't get too wrapped up in this narrative comparing, the reporting on Biden's mental degradation, dementia, whatever people want to call it, to Trump's. But yesterday, Trump went after Biden for appointing Jerome Powell. Of course, he appointed Jerome Powell. To be fair, Biden reconfirmed him or something. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But Biden, he blamed Biden for appointing Jerome Powell. And then, of course, he's made so many of these other errors. And you share the great James Fallows post that says, tedious to point this out, but when a tongue-tied Biden said president of Mexico instead of president of Egypt, it was a several-day story. Hours after Trump says, whoever appointed Jay Powell made a big mistake, it was him. The episode appears not to mirror a story on the national media sites. Do you think that the national media, the corporate media, is not giving Trump the same treatment as they did Biden?
He's no, absolutely not.
He stole a soccer trophy. Ben writes in the chat. That was crazy. That was wild.
Was insane.
They were so pissed after the guy was the captain. I played the audio of him. He was so pissed.
He stole both the trophy and a medal.
He took it.
He pocketed a medal.
He took the trophy back home. Yeah. The actual trophy. He has the trophy that these two European soccer teams. It's crazy.
It's insane. He's insane. He's just a slime. And he's also completely bonkers. He's utterly inarticulate. He has no memory. He's wrong about everything. And no, they don't treat him at all well. Meanwhile, the Times, just to rag on the Times, which I do all the time, is brought up the first time that Biden actually gave the Times an interview. What's it about? The goddamned auto pen. And the problem with that is that it's another example of the Times buying the framing of the right.
Right.
Okay, we're going to make the auto pen an issue.
Right.
And we're going to go force Biden to talk about that. Jesus effing.
Right. Yes, I saw that. It was like top of the page at the New York Times, my friend who loves you, Kevin Richburg. He texts me anytime they're reporting on Biden at the Times, and he's hilarious. Just how awful it is, how angry it makes him. You also shared on Blue Sky, and I will scold you for this.
Uh-oh.
A photo of two photos, one of Trump's hand and one of his ankles, which has been circulating.
Was that body shaming? Was that body shaming? Pete?
No, it's just I don't like it because I don't mind body shaming him. I actually don't mind. I think I've made a new exception. I always was against body shaming and going after people for characteristics, immutable characteristics. But now I'm making if the person's that much of an asshole.
If they're evil, if they're
evil. So, but there's a picture of him. He's got makeup on his hand all the time now, and people are zooming in on it and taking pictures of his hand. And now his ankles are looking swollen, and someone shared that.
They're definitely cankles, yeah.
Big cankles. They look, but I don't like that because I guess it gives me hope. And you're no doctor, and you don't know what that is. And maybe those images are doctored now. Like his ankles do look very cankly and swollen, and this is it very hot. Maybe. What do you think of that?
He's also in terrible shape, and we know that. And you know, for all the Biden's old, we're not dealing with this in the least. It's real. He's got dementia. He's at some point on that timeline. His health is terrible. You know, he could drop over tomorrow. And then, okay, here's the question for you: are we better off or worse off if that happens?
Better off.
Even with Vance.
Yeah. I'm one that firmly believes that because I think that there is so much uncertainty that it creates every day that it really makes it hard to. Vance doesn't fire Jerome Powell. Vance does a lot of things, quote, normally. There's already been so much destruction. The other thing he doesn't do is he doesn't just go out and attack people and destroy people and name call and go after Canada. I mean, it's just
he went after Zelensky, but that was what you were saying. That was only on the behest of Trump.
They all follow Trump's lead. I don't think that they would do it on their own, not because they're better people or anything, but because they can't get away with it the way that he can. I think he's a once in American lifetime type of, and I can argue as to why. I just don't think nobody else, unless they're some kind of Hollywood person or something, performer, gets away with it. Vance certainly doesn't. He's an idiot. He's not good at talking. He's not charismatic. People don't trust him. I don't think so.
Well, but Vance is also in the thrall of Thiel and company. And there were stories this week that really upset me.
Yeah.
It's Washington Post. It's my week to be bad on the Washington Post. They had a big story about what I would call eugenics, about couples using technologies backed by Peter Thiel to pick their embryos based on various things. And it's all trying to make Übermenschen, and it's eugenics, and they're not calling it this. And
my parents did that with me.
It didn't work very well. They picked the wrong one.
I was about to go about how
you were the backup.
I really set myself up. It didn't work very well. What happened? What did they pick?
They went for the hairy one, and it just didn't happen.
We want an adult that looks like a thumb. Yeah, that's bad.
So Vance scares me.
Very bad. Yeah. His influence
tied into some.
Yeah. That ideology is terrifying. The whole Curtis Yarvin, all the tech bro, billionaire, dark enlightenment shit is nuts. They are absolutely nuts. I just think Trump and the damage that he does hour to hour with his posts, day to day with his actions, no one can follow that, even if they try. I mean, you got the Stephen Miller who is running a lot of stuff. They continue to do these types of deportations and so on. What do you think is going to happen there? I mean, they've just gotten a whole huge amount of money, billions more for their detention camps and their stormtroopers. So it's only going to get worse there, right? I mean, could you see it any other way? Even if public opinion has turned, as they say it has, against the deportation and removal and kidnapping of people who are essential workers on farms and home buildings and et cetera?
So 79% of Americans now recognize that immigration is a good thing. It affects our lives in so many ways. I think there is the opportunity to pull back. But the Wall Street Journal had a story. Nationalist vigilantes are now policing Russia's streets with a guy. What do you call the thing you wear that covers your whole face? Balaclava. Balaclava, right? So a guy with a balaclava. It looks like L.A., right? It's exactly the same as what's going on here.
Yeah.
Masked people, heavily armed and armored. The streets were already there. It's awful. People thought that there'd be kind of revolt against it, but L.A. gave us a bit of hope that people would protest, but it's happening, and people are being thrown into alligator Auschwitz, and
oh, that's good.
It's terrible. So I don't know. They've gone so far down this line. I don't know how they pull back, and it's awful.
Does public opinion matter?
I don't know.
Protests matter?
I think protests do to an extent. I think that that's why I'm disappointed that the Democratic Party and the independents don't have us out there. Every weekend would be too much, maybe, but we've got to show rage. There's no shock left in our media anymore. I don't know if we've talked about this. Have we talked about my theory of the crisis of judgment
in corporate?
In society, but especially in media.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I think so. They're afraid to judge candidates. They're afraid to judge the voters who did this. When Hannah Arendt died, I make it a drinking game to always mention her name when I do this show. She was working on the last third of a book, and what was in her typewriter was the word judging as the chapter title for the last part of this book. And so we don't know what she would have said. And I think that our media, because of the myth of objectivity, are so scared of judging, of saying that this is an authoritarian, this is fascist, this is racist. Yeah. They're afraid of the labels, but if they don't use the labels, then they can't explain what the labels are. They can't explain the authoritarian that is upon us unless they are willing to say that something is authoritarian and that Donald Trump is a fascist. So there's a lack of judgment. There's also a lack of shock. That horrible, horrible stuff happens, and it passes over them as if, well, it's another day, and they thus normalize the worst of it. If I said this before, stop me, please. I always said this to my students. Don't just say, oh, it's old Jeff doing it again, repeating himself. Der Spiegel. You
said it before.
I've said everything before.
Even if you have, I don't remember things from yesterday. So I always like everything you say, so go ahead.
In Germany, AfD, the far right-wing party, was decreed to be extremist, which has implications in Germany. And there's political and legal implications to this, but there's also journalistic implications. So Der Spiegel had a piece some weeks ago asking, what do we do about this? Now that how do we change our coverage of it? And they had a really good piece, and I use Google Translate to cheat on my translation because I'm not that good. My German's not that good, which quoted a Portuguese academic who argued that the problem here, it's a norms-based view of what's happening. That is to say that we tend to think that people are normal and fine and they're okay, and then they get radicalized. They get radicalized by evil podcasters and evil YouTube and evil politicians. And what this researcher said is no, not at all. Those thoughts were in their heads. They didn't say them because of norms. Norms stopped them. Disapproval, judgment stopped them from saying it. And politicians came along, and they didn't run on these horrible things because they never heard anybody saying it. And they thought that they would get judged. But then there's a triggering event. It's 9/11 or it's immigrants into Europe or whatever it is. And suddenly people start saying things they didn't say before, and they find they get away with it. And the politicians start hearing it, and they start running on it, and they start winning on it. And this is not just opening the Overton window. This is smashing it to bits. And that's where we are now because we refuse to judge. There are no norms. You can say all this stuff. You can do all this stuff, and you don't get judged in media. You don't get judged in public. And until we bring back shame and shock, we're never going to be anywhere. So we have to be in a position, I think, where we judge these people for being how awful they are. But that's not what happens. Instead, we see something like, I'm going to give the Washington Post another bonk. They had a story this week. Oh, now I've lost it. There we go. Headline, 2 Fox reporters got engaged to congressmen.
Yeah.
How do you balance love and objectivity? Objectivity and Fox? Jesus Christ. So they're constantly normalizing this horrible behavior of politicians, and they're not willing to judge it. And they're not willing to judge those who support it.
Right.
And so that means that there is no barrier to doing awful things in this country right now. And the only way we're going to possibly save ourselves is by, you call it political correctness, you call it canceling. I don't care. That's part of the problem. That's how we got in this mess, is because we got intimidated from judging assholes as assholes.
That's perfectly said. That's the soundbite right there. I'll let you go, but I will say just before we leave, breaking.
Uh-oh.
Could be nothing because it's from Mark Halperin.
Uh-oh.
Veteran political journalist Mark Halperin revealed on Thursday that, quote, everyone, I don't know what that means, believes a blockbuster expose about the relationship between Donald Trump and the late sex criminal Jeffrey Epstein is about to drop. He said.
From where?
He said, everyone I know has been public report. Everyone I know believes a major newspaper, one of the top 3 in the country, is about to publish a piece about Trump's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein.
Okay, fine.
Well, we'll be here when it happens.
Trump, Epstein, Google News.
You can't. That's too narrow.
They're too far behind.
Well, yeah, but you can't. There's got to be 1 billion on those search terms.
There are, but you see what's up top. Yeah, no, nothing new there.
Is that how it works? The top one, the latest one?
No, it's not. No, because like the fourth one is 2 hours ago. The top one is 10 hours ago. So no.
My top one is New York Times live updates. Trump lashes out at supporters over Jeffrey Epstein criticism. Elon Musk blows major hole in Trump's Epstein hoax theory.
All right. So last question for you. I know you've talked about it, but I'm curious what your latest theory is. Politico tried to say that there were 3 possibilities. I'm not going to remember the third one. One is that they're trying to hide something that exists. One is that there really isn't anything there, and they've lied all along, and that's also a problem. I forget what the third one is. But what do you think is in the files? You know, we have no idea. We're just speculating, but go ahead, speculate.
Pictures of Trump with young women, maybe? Mm-hmm. I've heard that reported about. I think pictures and videos are hard for him to get around. Quotes and reporting, you can say fake news, but I think if anything that he doesn't like is it's compromising photos of him with young women, you know, on the plane or with Epstein or something like that. So not because we've all seen pictures with him with young women, but you know, with Epstein, I don't know. It's the only thing I can imagine that he personally is most concerned about, photos and videos of him. We've already got like dozens of him with Epstein.
By the way, I wonder, did anybody ever do lip reading of that famous video of the two of them?
Oh, that's a good question. No, I did.
Tell by the body language. It's slimy.
It says Trump is saying, "That's a hot piece of ass over there. Looks like she might be under 15. Should it be me or you, Jeff? Me or you, Jeff?" Something like that, probably. Yeah. You know what? I probably could go sexual assault her because we're famous. We can do it.
We can do anything we want.
Something like that. I'm guessing. Fucking awful. All right, I'll let you go. I appreciate you very much. This is awesome. Always appreciate it very much. You're the best, and I can't thank you enough for joining me. There goes the great Jeff Jarvis, everybody. All right, that's it. That's all for the Friday show. Catch me live today at 1 and 2 p.m. Education with Andrew Spar, Healthcare with Dr. Rob Davidson, and I will talk to you anytime on the Discord channel. And if you're not a subscriber, paid subscriber, sign up now and meet us there anytime. Have a great weekend. Thanks so much for your support. I appreciate you more than you could possibly ever know. So grateful, and that's it. That's all. I'm going to press stop. John Carroll, thank you very much for writing and performing this music that we get to use every day. Go buy his album. JohnCarroll.org right now. When you're tired of begging, saying pretty please, that's the time you gotta finally get up on your knees. When you can't see the forest for the burning trees, you got to stand up. Hey, you've been sitting so long, you got the creaky knees, you got to stand up. Stand up. I think you're driving wheels with leaking grease. Boy, you better stand up. Stand up. Well, there's a whole lot more of us who know what's right. They'll keep right on ignoring us if we keep sitting tight. You got to open up the window to let in some light. You got to stand
cut you down off of your fence. Even if it ain't a very friendly audience, well, they'll begin to listen when you start making sense. And you stand up, stand up. No need to point your rifle to defend your town. Just stand up, stand up. You know they can't deny you what you're laying down. Boy, you better stand up, stand up. Show your face of every color, yellow, black, red, and brown. She's the place where every lost child will finally be found. There's only one thing to do before we stand our ground, and that's stand up, stand up. Well, the founding fathers saw a land for all. They had to stand up, they had to stand up. They had a keen imagination for a crystal ball, drawing all the plans of a stand up. But all they had to go on was the time they were in, with other causes for laws, and since they weren't even sin, they knew that change was gonna come before the change could begin. They had to stand up. All right, they had to stand up. We got to stand up. We got to look the devil square in the eye. We gotta let him know it's his time to go, and make it clear when all we hear is a lie. Why you lying awake wondering where the money all went? It'll be the cost of freedom that'll go unspent. You can see him flee the scene of that experiment if you stand up. Alright, we got to speak up, we got to reach up, and raise your voice in every way you know how. Don't be toes up, you got to show up. Ain't no better time to do it but now. No need to pledge allegiance to no wanton tribe. Rise up, show obedience to the voice inside, and listen well and it'll tell you not to run and hide. It says stand up.